And once again, we are back with another tech call. How you doing this week?
I'm doing good. I not to complain, but I hate winter with a passion.
Right.
And I've had just about my fill of it.
I feel that. Yeah, I'm ready to travel somewhere south, start to see some sunshine, hopefully some greenery. It's just dreary. Like I'm not a fan of this time of year.
Yeah, if that muskrat sticks his head out and says 6 more weeks of winter, I'm all
Time
for
to get the rifle.
Yeah, I'm all for muskrat stew at that point.
Well, anyway, I mean, I don't know why we're complaining about the cold. We're in the South. A lot of people have it a lot worse. For instance, nice little segue.
Yeah.
You were talking to Wayne, who's in Canada. I can't even imagine a Canadian winter. It just seems like the stuff of nightmares for me. In any case, Wayne was working on a 2005 6.5 liter LLY, and he's been having issues with this truck for over a year. The issue that he reached out to us about was he was having some blue smoke and making what he called a random diesel noise. Now, I know a lot of guys like for their diesels to be noisy, but he was not happy with the sounds that were coming out of his truck.
Yeah, Wayne. He's purchased from us before for this vehicle, set of injectors. When Wayne initially got this truck, it wasn't running, and he took it to a couple of dealerships, and they couldn't troubleshoot it. And
Right.
Wayne got in touch with us year and a half ago, and we kind of thought it was injectors, and we went back and forth, and finally we got a set of injectors to him. He got them installed, got the truck running, and it actually ran good for a few months. And now he's calling back because he's got this totally different problem.
Right.
But we did him a good job last time, so he's reached out to us again, and we're going to try to help him with his problem.
Yep. So let's see how the call went with Wayne.
Hello.
Yes, Wayne, please.
Yes, you're speaking to him.
Am I pronouncing that correct, sir? My apologies.
Close enough. Oh, close enough, sir.
Close enough. Okay. My name's Billy Williams. I
Close
work in the tech department of Diesel Care, and just to kind of let you know, all my calls are recorded.
Right.
So,
No problem.
I was asked to give you a call. You're working on a 2500 GMC Sierra with a 6.6, and
Yes.
my notes say that you're getting some blue smoke, knocking,
Yes.
and
Well, more of a rattle, not a knocking, like a rattle, a throttle, a diesel rattle, not a knock, like a knock sensor, like a knock. It's kind of like a rattle. You know, when it's starting for fuel, you get that kind of gurgling rattle noise.
yes, sir, I do. Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I'm getting the odd time, not steady.
And
It comes and goes.
And I'm in my notes here. It says injectors replaced about a year ago. Looks like you've got a new FICM, return lines, glow plugs, pump, and a rebuilt turbo. Has all of that?
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Well, I was going to ask.
The
Has
turbo,
all? Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. We were talking amongst each other. The throttle body, I made a mistake. It wasn't rebuilt. I had a guy look at it and he said it was fine, but that's all he told me.
Okay.
It's not making any noises. So it wasn't a complete rebuild. No.
The
turbo, I'm talking.
Turbo.
The turbo.
Okay. All right. Now, my question
Okay.
was, were these items replaced in response to this problem that you're addressing, or were they done at other times? And if so, when did this problem start occurring?
Okay. Well, it all started right from the beginning when I bought this thing used. I couldn't get it fired. It would run on ether and it wouldn't start up on its own. Well, I sent it into two GM dealers, which cost me over $3,000, and they did nothing other than try to replace parts because they didn't have a clue.
Right.
So the last time they called me up and told me, come and pick up your truck. We can't figure it out. It's their product, but they can't figure it out.
Oh, my.
So I said, oh, yeah, no kidding. I was really getting perturbed. But anyway, I hooked it out of the dealership. I brought it home, and I figured out that the injectors were plugged. The solenoids were clicking, but nothing was coming out the ends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I ordered all new injectors from you guys
Mm-hmm.
and gold plugs and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And I changed all that. It seemed to run fine for a bit. And I had a smoke, that blue smoke, I would say about 3 months back. Now it's back again and it won't clear. Okay. If I mat it, it'll clear and blow out black. Raw fuel, basically, is what it is. It's black. It'll blow out black if I put it to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But when I let off and just cruise at like 40 mile an hour and I just feather the pedal, the gas pedal, the fuel pedal, I'll get blue.
Okay. Let me give you a little food for thought here. I would be inclined to take a second look at the turbo, and let me tell you why.
Okay.
Whenever you have that, it sounds like a diesel rattle and it comes and goes.
Yes.
There's any number of things it can be. But when you add the element of blue smoke historically is oil consumption. Not a lot, not enough that you would even notice. Just a small amount. And what happens under certain conditions, the oil that lubricates the turbo can get past the piston ring on what's called the cool side or the compressor side. And when that oil goes into the engine treats it like fuel. It burns it. It says, hey, I've got a consumable here. Now it's in the wrong cylinder at the wrong time. It's random.
Right.
And that's where you create that audible noise and you get that blue smoke because it's burning oil, not diesel fuel. Now here's a couple of ways
to. It doesn't smell like oil though. It doesn't. Like out of the exhaust pipe, it doesn't smell like oil. It smells like diesel. But maybe the diesel is over consuming the oil smell. I don't know.
Well, you're still burning primarily diesel. You just got an extra kick came in, and that's where you're getting that audible noise. Now, how do we check this? Well, here's a couple things. The first thing is you can pull the ductwork of your turbo, and look for visible signs of oil. Now, and this is where I'll get eat up in the by some mechanics, but there's always a thin film of oil inside that tube. That's natural. It's not like it's supposed to be dry and pristine. What you don't want to see is puddles of oil. You don't want to see where oil has accumulated at the base of those. The other thing you can do is pull your ductwork off. Be very careful because and crank your engine. Now your engine's going to run rough, but for purposes of testing, rev it. Hold you a piece of cardboard or something in front of the cool side, the compressor side, and see if you're getting little droplets of oil that are hitting that. And I suspect that may be where that's where I would look if I had your truck in my shop.
I've replaced everything else pretty well that I'm aware of, other than internal, like rings and valves and stuff like that. I haven't done.
Yeah, the problem you're describing doesn't sound like internal engine problem. It sounds sporadic. It sounds like I feel confident in oil being introduced into the issue. Now let me play devil's advocate, or my wife. Which basically is the same thing. Could you have a valve stem that's allowing a little bit of oil to go into a cylinder at a certain time and do this?
Right.
Absolutely. But mechanics generally, if they have it in the right mind, they start with the cheapest and work up. Rather than pulling a head off, I would rather pull that ductwork and say, well, this, I would rather look at the cheaper options first. And I suspect
it's not cheap either.
Well, no. And cheap's a relative term. But I will say that based on everything you're telling me, the turbo would definitely be suspect.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why I called, because I'm getting at a loss here, and I just keep throwing money at it, and it just keeps eating it. You know what I mean? I do want to get this going.
I would check that ductwork close. And if you do find, that you have to do the turbo, you'll just want to make sure that, if you have an intercooler that, that's all cleaned out, because all that oil it's post filter. So it's just blowing straight into your motor. If you check all that out and you still haven't come up with anything, this is my cell number. You can call me, and we can discuss it further. But I think you're going to find that that's going to be the starting point for troubleshooting.
Be the starting point.
Yes, sir.
And another thing I would like to run by you, I did take, I actually tore it in half. Did I take off? EGR valve. I opened it up and had a look inside, and it had pools of oil in it. Is that normal?
Not normally.
Like, not a whole lot, but there was a puddle of oil on the bottom of the base of it. And I cleaned it all out, and I flushed it out with cleaner, and it seemed to run all right. I haven't looked at the part since, but I did find that at one point, because I was drawing straws here. I was just figuring maybe it's EGR valve plugged, because I was doing some research, but that ain't it. Nothing's plugged. There's no carbon buildup in it, but there was some oil in it.
Yeah. Well, and let me ask the obvious question. Is oil consumption, has it ever been an issue with this motor?
Never. No, it don't. And I can look at it right now, and it's right up to the top where I left it. Okay. I change the oil quite frequently on it. I don't pay for oil. I get it from work. So I throw her in.
I don't think I would change my diagnosis anymore. That it shouldn't be engine oil there. But that could be a secondary problem. Anytime you have a turbo issue, it can create a myriad of other problems. But I would address the turbo issue first, and then kind of move out from there.
Yeah. Okay, and you do sell, if it comes to that, or I figure that is it, or I contact you again. You do sell rebuilt ones or new ones, or do you?
There's, and I'm not the price guy, I'm just the tech guy, but I can tell you that they can rebuild your turbo for one price, depending on, if it's buildable. They can offer you a rebuild.
The problem is, I'm in Canada, don't forget.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think of the fella I dealt with all the time, and I asked if he was still there, but I got his name wrong. His name was, I think it was Austin. You got a guy there named Austin works there?
There's a guy named Austin that works in the he manages the warehouse, and he's operations manager.
That's the guy I was talking to.
Yeah, he kind of sits in the big chair, but he's got a big head. He's got a big head to go with it, so I guess it's.
He doesn't get his fingers dirty either.
No, he is a super guy, and the one thing I can tell you about Austin, he takes care of his customers. He is he has a lot of loyal customers, but but being in Canada, I would look to either getting a reman exchange or a new. And you do have to consider with Canada shipping the core back, and sometimes it's cheaper just to go with a new and not deal with the core. Austin or Spencer, either one of those two, those guys are great guys. They can take care of you. What I'll do is I'll send a copy of these notes over to Austin and Spencer, either one of the two of them. And but if you find that you need a turbo, give those guys a call. They will work with you. They'll get you taken care of.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they will. Yeah. You guys never done me wrong, so.
Well, that's good to hear. And
you're a lot better than a GM dealer, let me tell you, because they don't have a clue what they're doing. They do not. I could not believe it.
Unfortunately, they don't get as much training in the dealerships that they used to do 30, 40 years ago.
The old school,
and it shows. I'm not going to lie. It
does. If they can't see it on a computer, they're lost. That's the way the world is today. There's no old school left. Common sense.
We are a dying breed.
Yes.
That's what they tell me all the time. They say, we just don't know who we're going to get to do this job after you leave, because I'm one of the few in our company that still understand the old stuff. But But yeah, give them guys a call. They can take care of you. And if you get stumped, just call me direct back on my cell number, and we'll work it out.
I appreciate it, sir. You've been a big help. At least now I know what direction to head for, anyways, because I'm at a total loss here. Okay, we'll look at the turbo within the future here shortly, and then go from there.
All right, sir. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, sir. Enjoy your day.
Bye.
So after talking to Wayne, you came to the conclusion, rather, that it's likely a turbo issue that we're dealing with.
Yeah, there were two things that came out in the conversation that really pointed me in that direction. One was the blue smoke, and it was a nominal amount, which, when I asked Wayne if he noticed any oil consumption, he said no. Which means that there's only a small amount of oil being consumed. Blue smoke is almost always oil. You can't speak in absolutes.
Yeah, a little asterisk next to that.
But 99 times out of 100, blue smoke is oil being consumed in the engine. And the fact that it was sporadic, and blue smoke, and then when he said the noise and how he described it, when that oil gets introduced into the engine, it's typically not on a correct firing cycle.
Right.
And so it gets fired, and it can translate audibly so many different ways.
He described it as not a knock, but a rattle, which I thought was an interesting distinction to make.
Yeah, it's not as, sometimes you have to kind of drill down with folks. But I think what he's dealing with, he's getting a small amount of oil that's getting blown into his engine. The engine consumes it, which causes this audible distinction. He gets a little blue smoke, which is from the oil. So that's the path that I put him on. Now, a lot of naysayers or people will say, well, why didn't you do this? Folks, always start with the less expensive, less time-consuming options.
Yeah. Start with those and then
work your way up.
Right. Narrow it down to where you're sure that you have to do something drastic. The only way to be sure about that is to try all the other smaller things first.
Well, and the test we gave him, Wayne could do in 15 minutes with no expense. And so, it only makes sense to do that. Wayne had a couple bad experiences with some
of the dealerships.
He
had a spur in his saddle about that, and that's understandable. I mean, those guys, that's their profession, and we're not knocking them. But when you tout yourself as having a certain skill set, people come to you for that skill set. If you can't execute on that, then it certainly creates a lot of frustration. And I think that's where Wayne was at.
Yeah, and my take on this is whether you take your vehicle to a dealership, whether you do have a local mechanic that you deal with, or maybe a neighbor who works on diesels, or no matter who works on your vehicle,
right?
Make sure you have an in-depth conversation with the person who is going to be pulling wrenches on your truck, not a service writer, not a secretary behind the desk. Just say, hey, can I talk to the mechanic who's going to be working on my vehicle? Now, if they don't allow that, if they say, no, you can't talk to the mechanic, that to me is kind of a blinking yellow caution
flag.
Light.
Yeah.
Of like, wait a minute, because you want the mechanic to have the best information. And the best information comes from you, the driver of the vehicle. So if you two don't get together, you're starting off in a bad place when it comes to...
Yeah, they're going to have an incomplete understanding of what's going on with the truck.
So, have a conversation with the mechanic. You should get a sense of both their technical abilities and their repair approach. You like I said, you just want to have a conversation, and make sure that they have as much information to achieve the result of getting your truck fixed the least expensive way.
So you heard it here first, folks. Make sure you talk to your mechanic before they start taking stuff off and replacing everything on your truck.
Absolutely.
Well, that is it for us this week. We will be back with another tech call. If you have issues with your diesel, please reach out to www.dieselcare.store. That's our website. You can also reach us at 1-800-961-9290.
Yep.
You can set up a tech call if you just want to have some questions or some issues you want to bounce off of our technicians. We will be happy to answer any questions and hopefully keep your truck on the road and your tractor in the field.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Yes, I'm built out and bound to go. I'm gonna leave here running because walking is most too slow.
All right, back to one.